Hello and welcome to Giles the Sex Therapist, a better sex guide for men. This show contains some explicit material. Today, take it like a man. We're talking about taking a cock up your arse, and it all starts with a journey of discovery, doesn't it, Giles?
It does. It is the traditional way of two guys having penetrative sex. We do have to be very, very aware, don't we, Steve, of how safe it needs to be, and also be aware of the dangers.
You've got your 5 things to remember when it comes to anal sex, haven't you? So give me the 5.
Okay. Always use lubricant. Now, you know, some people do actually find wearing a condom does actually irritate their lining of their anal passage. So you may get swelling there. And if that is the case, please be aware that, you know, your partner may not be used to the latex. He could be allergic to the latex. So be aware of that. The anus is, unlike the vagina, does get very irritated. It's not, you know, the anus is not used to having something going up there. It's used to having something coming down. Stop immediately if your partner is actually in pain. It's not about you taking control over the situation and keep on pounding this poor backside and you having a wonderful time and he is in absolute agony. Remember, if your partner says no and if you carry on, that is rape. It's about mutuality and agreement, but make sure he is okay. And it's okay when you're actually having sex with somebody. Am I doing okay? Would you like me to do something in a different way? Are you comfortable? Are you this? Are you that? Communicate, because there's no rule to say that you can't, and it has to be silent. And if you want your partner to actually groan, let him hear you groan. Let him tell you that he's satisfied with what you're doing. Take it slow, especially you virgins out there. And there's no strict rule of how old a virgin is, especially in the gay community. You know, you may have been with women beforehand and been married for quite a time and then suddenly realised you have tendencies towards guys. So take it slowly. A good way to actually start is actually sucking your finger and actually fingering yourself first, getting used to it. And if you actually get used to it while you're actually masturbating or wanking, that is a really good way of actually stimulating yourself and relaxing yourself. So by taking it slowly, allow the partner, a good position to actually do is actually the person who's giving is lying down. The person who's actually receiving, have them facing you, striding you. The person striding you and receiving is in control. They can take as much of you as they want. Even if you only have the gland, the head parts entering the anus, that is still satisfying to the giver. And as soon as you feel comfortable and your anus is actually expanding and relaxing, you'll be able to take more. You know, it's when you actually push it in like a poker into a fire, that's when it's going to be really, really painful. And I doubt if your partner's going to let you have sex with them quickly again. Sufficient desire alone does not guarantee pleasure of anal sex. If you're basically on your own, I've touched upon this a moment ago, fingering yourself is perfectly okay. It is a good way of actually preparing yourself to having something up there. When you finger yourself, you are not going to stimulate your prostate. If you're wanting to stimulate your prostate, you can actually, by pushing up between your testicles and your anal passage quite firmly, you can actually feel. And I can actually see Steve nodding here. So have you tried this, Steve?
I wouldn't possibly take any notes of what you say on these podcasts, would I? Would you?
I hope so. And the last one is always communicate with your partner. Again, I've actually talked about this within these 5 rules. Find out if he's okay with actually taking you, because the average penis size when erect is around 4 to 6 inches, European stage. Now, you've got some rumours that black guys are a lot bigger. They can be a lot bigger, but they also can be a lot smaller. There's also rumour that German guys can be very, very big. They can be small. English guys can also be big and also be small. But if you're actually wanting to experience a smaller penis at first, why don't you try going with someone who is slightly overweight? Because surprisingly, they don't go in as far but they can still satisfy you. And hey, who's to say that people who are slightly overweight are bad lovers? They can be very attentive and go for it. So those are my 5 rules.
Okay, well, we got the rules. Now the relaxing part of it all, how to actually let the intruder in.
The sphincter or the anal passage, first of all, as I said, lick your finger, and fortunately you've got 4 fingers and a thumb. So, you know, if you're pretty tight, whereas most people are when they first start experimenting with their back passage, it's going to be tight. So make sure you lubricate it with your finger first and see how far. Start with your little finger, work up towards your thumb. And once you start working with your thumb, you can also then start considering using sex toys. Now, there's so many different sizes. You don't always have to get the foot-long dildo or vibrator. There's many things, many sizes. And if you're actually really interested in this, you can actually make up your own dildo. Did you know that, Steve? You can actually make up your own dildo.
It's like a Blue Peter make, is it?
You can go to a sex shop. They do have kits. You may even be able to go to Ann Summers and inquire, and if they haven't got that in stock, they might be able to arrange ordering it for you. But you can actually mold yourself or your partner's penis to the size he is and use that as a prototype as a dildo. So, you know, if anything happens, at least you've got his penis to, if anything happens after he's gone.
Morbid, gruesome thing to say. Well, and then let's move on to drugs now. There's sort of drugs that are okay, aren't there? And then there are drugs that go into the class A, totally illegal and are bad for you.
I actually, as far as I know, you know, the drugs which are used in sex are actually all illegal. I haven't known any drug which is actually good for the body, apart from Viagra, which is basically a stimulant to make sure you don't lose your erection. You don't have to use drugs to relax, have a drink, meditate, use self-hypnosis. We've touched upon these things on previous podcasts, but you don't really have to use drugs. They are not good for you. They do mess with your brain cells, and there has been some research that various drugs like cocaine, which can be used as a relaxant, actually do fry your brain cells. So if you've got plenty of brain cells and you want to lose some, maybe it's a way to go, but I certainly do not recommend it.
Yeah, so we're talking about clouding your judgment, aren't we? You just don't want to be doing that, because then you cloud a judgment, you make stupid mistakes, and then that's where you end up in the clinic and having bad news. Yeah.
We've also got to be aware, Steve, that the old date rape drug, you know.
Oh yes, the one that begins with R. Yeah, Rohypnol.
Basically, that causes amnesia, so you're not going to know what you've done. All you're going to know is that you got maybe a sore ass the next morning. And that is, as we've touched upon already, a form of rape, because you have not consented. You are not of a clear mind to actually make a decision. Stay away from the drugs unless you're prescribed by a GP or a consultant.
All right, now let's do the correct debate. Now, the church loves the word sodomy, which, as we know, isn't an exclusive pastime of gay men, because straight men and women also do it. So what's your take on the great prostate gland debate, Giles?
Ooh, the prostate gland debate. The prostate does not have to be accessed through the anal passage. It can be actually milked externally between your testicles and your anal passage if you press firmly enough. Some people are actually saying, and I don't know what you feel about this, Steve, if God created us and he created a prostate up inside our back passage, he must have meant gay men to exist. The prostate, in fact, on a biological level, is there to actually produce seminal fluid for your sperm. So, you know, the fact that it is very satisfying having it pounded or stimulated or whatever is a byproduct. Me personally, I don't have a problem with it. And surprise, surprise, you might be shocked by this, Steve. I'm actually a gay Christian.
Let's draw it to a close here, shall we?
Yeah.
I think it's always better leaving religion and politics out of anything sexual.
But one thing I will actually say just before we do close concerning it is you got to remember the Bible was written 2,000 odd years ago. And I think certain things do get outdated. You know, I'm not going to say the church is wrong. I'm not going to say gay men are wrong. But I am going to say is things do have to be brought up to date and be accepted and not judged.
On that not judgmental note, thank you very much, Giles. You can find more by going to gilesthesextherapist.com. That's all one word. And do come back again soon and download some more Giles the Sex Therapist. So find out more by going to gilesthesextherapist.com. That's Giles with an I. The presenter was Steve Campen with sex therapist Giles Dee-Shapland, and it's a creative radio production.